Hey guys, I'm a senior software engineer, and in this video I'm going to try doing something fun with OpenAI Codex. So I'm going to try and build a very simple Trello clone by only writing prompts. So to get started, I already have a project which is like some basic React setup with TypeScript. So I'm just going to copy it into another folder. Let's call it Trello 2. Very creative. I'm gonna paste everything here and maybe just remove Git. And I suppose now we can hold up. Maybe we remove node modules as well, even though I'm just going to reinstall them. And let's get started. Rename this project to, hold up, this plot, I want it to Codex. Let's rename this project to Trello 2. And in the meantime, I suppose we could update Codex. Wonder if they have anything new for us. Ooh, looks like there are more models. We're using GPT-5 Codex, the medium level. Okay. I'm just going to, and at the same time, I suppose we could do more stuff. So let me first show you. This project currently has models because it's been taken from my habit tracker. And it has some very basic UI, but we're just going to create some new models for our new project, and then we'll remove the old models. I want you to look at all the models that I currently have in src/models folder, and I want you to create models and stores for a Trello clone. So I want two models, a column and a task. And the way we keep relationship between them is that every task has a column ID prop. And so every model should have like ID property. You can look at existing models to learn how these IDs would be generated. Also, make sure to create stores as well, and then go into src/providers folder, and make sure that we have a hook which provides every store like we currently have with the existing models. Oh, and once you're done with this, I want you to remove all the models that we had before. So remove the groups model, habits, and the week, okay? But you know, these models are only for you to learn how my models look, then you can remove them because we're kind of changing what this app does. So this is how you can prompt Codex. It's pretty wonderful in my opinion that I can just speak and I can explain everything that I want and then it runs. By the way, the app that I'm using is my own. It's called Whisper Type, and its specialty is that it costs only $30 a year for unlimited usage. So you might want to check that out. Okay, so we're here. We're working on adding new models and removing the old ones. Here we are renaming the project. Also, by the way, this project will not need a Chrome extension anymore, so you can remove everything that's related to Chrome extension. The original project was a Chrome extension. This one is not going to be. So now I have Codex working in these two tabs. And now I think I can only wait. Maybe I can give it another task. So I want you to look at the UI that we have. We have a screens folder in src, so it's src/screens. Currently have a habits list. Instead, I want this to be called, let's say, project view, okay? And I want you to actually go ahead and use our models. Here we go, we have models now. We don't have tasks yet. Oh, we do, okay. Sorry, so in the models folder, you'll find column and task models. And also in the providers, you'll find, maybe not yet. So anyway, I want you to access column store and task store. And for now, I only want you to render them as a nested bullet list. And I want you to, so in every column, actually, you know what? You can render them as columns, okay? Render something like Trello, okay? Columns and tasks inside. And make sure there's a button to add a new column. And inside a column, there should be a button to add a new task. But for now, don't worry about the drag and drop, okay? Just let me add them, and that's all. For now, that's all, okay? Also, you have the context menu component. We have this here in the UI folder. So you might want to add a context menu that will allow me to delete a task or a column for that matter. Also, when you're creating a new column or a task, let's ask user for the name of it by using JavaScript prompt function. So now I explained how I want the basic UI to function. Looks like the project is still renaming, and it looks like the models are still being worked on. And you can see that at the same time, we're working on our UI. So I think that's about the limit of concurrency I can handle. So I'm just going to wait for at least one task to finish. But I suppose the way you vibe code is that you kind of let things run, and then you think about it. Ooh, look at this. This is finished. All right, so now we're gonna ask us to remove any. I want you to remove any UI code that is related to habits. I'm changing the purpose of this app. This won't be about habits anymore. So delete all the habit groups and habits and tables and everything related to that. So the project that I'm repurposing is this one. It's my little new tab extension, a little habit tracker. Okay, so so this is what it is currently. I didn't want to build a whole new thing, so I'm just kind of removing code from this one and starting and adding new code there. All right, so it seems that renaming is all finished. This is good. I suppose in the meantime, I want you to set up a new Git repository and commit everything that we have so far. So let's actually put it in Git. What's happening here is, what is it? Oh, look at that. This is quite a lot. Let's say it's calling it board. So there's going to be a screen called board. That's fine. And here, what we have here, habits list. This is being removed. Fine. So let's actually start cursor now. Oops. And let's go to source. So we have app, which is rendering the board, and then the board. Okay, so board is doing all these things, and this is fine, I think. So, when I'm coding like this, I spend most of the time obviously reviewing the code that it wrote. So this looks good to me. I didn't go into too much detail, but in general, this looks fine. But I wanted to use the right-click menu, I think. Here we're getting all the... Okay, so one thing we could do, which one is working on the UI? Okay, so this is cleaning up, I think. No, this is the UI. Okay, so we're gonna put some more stuff here. So in the board, oh, this has changed, it seems. Project view, okay, it was renamed. Let's cancel that recording. Column, description. Right, so we have tasks here, and then we have, okay, as you're creating this UI, I want you to create components for individual parts of the UI, let's say. So for example, there should be a separate component for a column, and there should be a separate component for a task, okay? Also, oh, this is fine. This is fine. All right, so we're just going to append this to the existing conversation, and we're going to let it continue. What's happening here? I think this deleted. Okay, fine. So this is the old code that was removed. I'm gonna close the tab now. And this one is working on Git, I think. So we do have a Git now. Oh, this is just some deleted stuff. Board has been renamed. Project view has been added. Updating. Maybe. Oh, we don't have a Git repo yet. Okay, fine. So I'm gonna close this one. What's this one doing? Right, this is the refactoring where I want components, and this one is doing nothing. Okay. So let's watch the code in the meantime. I think at this point I might be able to run the UI and take a look at it. Okay, it's using my old design from habits. So perhaps we're gonna ask it to... So I have some old design which is using like monospace font. I don't want it in this project, okay? And I started using this thing called base UI for I'm using it for context menu, but I'm also going to use it for the button, just so I have a actual nice design button. Where's button? Wait, I don't have a button component here. What? Okay. Is there a button component? I'm not seeing a button. Checkbox, combo box, field, form, input menu, popover. I'm not seeing a button. What? Oh, that's strange. Wow. Okay. Interesting. I'm confused. That's fine. This is like instead of shadcn, which I don't like that much. Anyway, maybe I should just use that. It seems they have a little more components available. Anyway, let's take a look here. So I have this custom styled button, which is using like old class styling. I want you to just turn it into nice regular button. And also it is currently placed right next to the project view title. I want it to be instead aligned to the right edge of the entire page. So let's work on that. And in the meantime, we did our refactoring. So now if we open project view, it should look much nicer, I think. So we have project column, just like I wanted. Oh, hold up. There's one more thing we want to do. So also in the component called project view, it seems that we're like rendering our own custom button. Instead, I want this to be also a separate component in a separate file. And if you need multiple styles for buttons, create multiple styles, name them appropriately. And if not, then just make sure we're using just one type of button across the whole thing. It's up to you if you want to have multiple styles. All right, so I'm talking to it like it's a human. It's pretty wonderful. Okay, so I'm still confused about they don't have a button. But okay, oh, look at that, hold up. Base UI / button. No, that's a different thing. Never mind. Let's try to create a column and call it current. as an, ooh, look at that. And then another one, next, another one, I'm gonna call this icebox. Okay, fine. So one thing I don't like is this weird way to add a column. Right now there's a button to, there's a button to add a column, which is fine. There's also this weird rectangle with dashed border to add a column. I don't want that. We already have a button to add a column. Let's just stick with that. I don't want that rectangle, okay? Get rid of it. Also, another thing. It seems that the columns are current. So I want the columns to take up the entire space of the page, even if they don't have too many tasks, okay? So I'm queuing this in the same conversation, just because I kind of feel like that this following work will depend on the existing work that has been done. If I can try adding a task, take out the trash, buy some milk. So this seems to be working pretty nice, except of course for drag and drop. And this is the thing I'm the most curious about, how well will it handle. Because in this habit tracker app, I did add sortable from a library called dndkit. But, oops, what is it called? Oh, okay. So I added that and it was able to do it in one shot, which was really cool. But dragging between multiple columns is going to be a little more complicated. So I wonder how, like, if it'll do a good job or not at all. That's the main thing I'm interested in. Okay, let's just wait. Oh, it's gone now. Perfect. Cool. So now I think we're ready to try and add drag and drop. I can close this, I suppose. Okay. All right. So if you look at package.json, you'll notice that you already have a dndkit library. So I want you to use this library to implement dragging tasks between columns. Okay. So it might be a little complicated and you might need to look at some examples of dndkit. But basically, I want you to do a Trello clone using dndkit. Okay, if that makes sense. Might be able to give you an example. But maybe in this first iteration, I want you to try and do the best job you can. Okay. So try to do this Trello clone using dndkit. Oops. Cool. And I don't want to make this too much of a commercial, but you've noticed I'm writing these prompts extremely quickly. And this is my app called Whisper Type. So I really want you to give it a try. We have the right-click menu as well. That was pretty cool, and it works. Can we delete? We can delete columns as well. Look at that. Yep, cool. So, like I said, if you're not a very competent engineer, you could mess things up quite a bit. But you know, when I gave it my like guide rails, let's say the guidelines, it's doing a great job. Because I told it exactly how I imagine the model layer. I gave it examples of how MobX Keystone is working, how these task stores should look like. I gave it all these examples, and it's been able to generate everything by itself. And this is good code, more or less. And I didn't have to check anything. So it's doing a fantastic job without much of my input, but part of it is that I kind of already have the intuition for how to steer this thing so it writes good code. So yeah, these tools are very powerful in hands of senior engineers. I think, you know, if you're just like vibe coding, if you don't know much what's going on in the code, you might kind of mess things up. but if you're at least half competent, then you're gonna create beautiful things with it. Maybe here we can do a little bit of refactoring, or not. Never mind. No, I'm sorry. Okay, so it's thinking, it's designing architecture. This is kind of slow right now. No, feel free to skip this part. Multiple, I think this example is closest to what I need. Even though it is also like, ooh, here we go. This is the Trello clone thing that I wanted. So perhaps, if it fails, perhaps we could give it this as example. There's a way to show code somewhere. Docs. Maybe here we go. Show code. Oh, okay. I mean, we would probably just clone it and this is super slow at this point. Okay, so if it fails, we can give it this whole thing as example. There's way too much code, but perhaps it'll be able to understand everything. I remember that when I first saw this, this was extremely overwhelming to me as a human, but perhaps this thing will do a better job. Ooh, something's happening here. This is kind of cool. It's coming with a really detailed plan for how to implement this. I wonder if I should be using Codex like this, because I kind of stopped using it this way, but you know, it kind of looks great. For tasks like these, I could just have it run in the background. So it's adding a little order property. This is fine. Move task to position. Yeah, that's good. That's not bad. Good work. It's maybe not exactly what I would do, but it is not terrible. Get next order. This is something that I would do. I'm not sure what this does. Okay. Keep going, buddy. So, you know, if it's competent like this, then I'm willing to just let it run in the background. Because with Claude code, I would always kind of watch it and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But with this, it could be much better. Like, could be something that could act on its own. And it's nice that they have UI for everything. So, like, there's multiple ways to use this thing. Terminal is my favorite because I get to watch everything that's happening. But then you have this UI where you can kick things off in the background, and I really like that. So, you know, maybe I can think, like, the question for me is ask myself, is this something that could just work by itself without my input, such that there's a high chance that when I review the PR, then I can just approve it without too many changes? If that's the case, then I would use the web UI and kick it off in the background. But if it's something complicated where I want to kind of watch what it's doing and kind of, it's almost like watching your junior programmer do his work and like telling him to stop and do some things differently. Now look at that. This looks a lot like the code that I wrote manually for this. The only problem is there's quite a lot of code to do this, and I'm not sure, like perhaps if I would look into it, perhaps I could simplify it quite drastically, but it doesn't look that bad. I think when I did this manually a couple of years ago, I had equal amount of code there. So let's see if it worked. Oops, well, with reservations. So now I'm going to just use my own knowledge of the issue, and I'm going to give it some tips how to do this. So right now, when I try to drag items, they kind of stay within the column, so they remain in their own container instead of just being on top of everything else, like with the highest Z index. And I remember in the ND kit, the thing that you have to do is use something called drag overlay in order for the item to kind of be switched to the top of the page. So I'll give you a link. I want you to read it and understand how drag overlay is used, and then I want you to improve our drag and drop to make it work. So, oops, oh no, I pasted everything. Okay, so I give it a link to drag overlay, and I'm hoping it's going to read it and understand. Yeah, it seems like it wasn't handling that at all before. This code is very familiar to me. This is basically how you use the ND kit. There's active task and all that. The only thing I would do differently is that I would come up with MobX view models to handle all this state. So it's doing like the naive React state, which is fine, but I don't like it. I prefer MobX. So and perhaps if I instructed it to use MobX from the beginning, I'm afraid it wouldn't do as good of a job. Okay, fine. Let's see what happened here. Does it work now? Ooh, it seems to be working. One more thing that's really annoying to me is when I put my mouse over the card, it's using like the typing cursor. I want it to just be a normal arrow, okay? It's really annoying. So I can drag into another column. Switching order doesn't work. It works if I go from bottom to top, but it doesn't work the other way. So let's see if it can fix that bug. One more problem is that if I have two tasks in a column, and if I drag the last one to the first position, everything works fine. However, if I drag the first one to the last position, then they just animate back and the new position isn't persisted. The typing cursor is gone, which is great. Yeah, but I'd say it works. I'd say it works pretty fine. Like I said, I would do a little refactoring to make it store some things in MobX instead of state, but I think it's working pretty well. I think it also wrote the least amount of code necessary. The thing about the ND kit is that you need to write a good deal of code. So if we go over it, let's say, yeah, like this stuff, use sensor, you know, it's necessary to write all that. Active task. Active task kind of holds which one is currently being dragged. And there's handle drag end, and there's some logic which decides how to place them in the new container, or keep it within the same and only change the position. And it's quite complicated logic. I wrote this stuff myself manually some time ago, so I know this is necessary, more or less. It could be simplified a little bit, but it is necessary. I think the rest of it is quite simple. Project task card. This is interesting. So rendering this is like a dumb view, okay? And it's being rendered from here, from drag overlay. So it's rendering the one that's currently visible, but it's also being rendered from project column. But here we're rendering sortable task card, and this is just kind of decorating the task card with all the sortable stuff. Yeah, so this is exactly what I remember from working with this stuff manually. I think it did a great job, but I want to wait to see if it can fix this bug. Oh, looks like it's making some drastic changes. Because this logic is complicated, and you know, it introduced a bug and it's now trying to fix it. And it's not simple to fix it. So okay, let's see if it worked. So put this here. I can drag from top to bottom, and I can, okay, it fixed it. Very nice. Maybe one more thing I would improve is I would like it to make space for the task when I drag it in, but this is not a big deal. All right, I think we implemented a little Trello clone in 30 minutes.